So, welcome to our Main Street Master Series presented by Mainstreet SA. I'm David West, your host, and today we're talking to Mr. Larry Ying, a former Group Director of the Singapore Urban Redevelopment Authority. Larry is also a former Commissioner General for the Singapore Pavilion in the Expo 2020 in Dubai and a former Prize Secretary of the Lee Kuan Yew's World City Prize. Larry, your achievements are impressive, and we thank you for your time. And we're so happy that you're coming to present your masterclass in Adelaide.
Good morning, David. It's so nice to see you online. Yes, and thank you for having me in your master series. It is really a great honor to me to be part of it.
Can I ask you, of all those achievements, what is the one you're most proud of?
So first, I take pride in different areas of work given to me in my 44 years of career in the public service. I was actually fortunate to be able to serve in 5 different statutory boards, and they're all very important statutory boards. So I'm going to just cite 3 examples. For example, at the Housing and Development Board, which is the National Public Housing Authority in Singapore, I take pride in serving the public with a total living environment concept, planning and design of the new towns and housing estates, and providing quality and affordable housing to improve the living environment. The impact is great. It's about 80% of our population lives in the HDB flats. Second, for the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize, it is so rewarding to see cities all over the world improving their cities to make it more livable, sustainable, vibrant, with a high quality of urban life, as they share and learn via the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize platforms. I'm also very proud to be able to create a tropical garden in the desert climate for Singapore Pavilion at the Expo 2020 in Dubai. Visitors were in awe of the biggest tropical garden. Of course, now it's over. It was for almost 9 months the biggest tropical garden in Dubai. And that people over there were very happy to be able to experience a walk through the Singapore Pavilion or the tropical garden. This is really a national contribution. And you can imagine the joy of me going on stage to receive the Gold Award for the architecture and landscape category, which is a historic win for us for the first time at all the World Expos which Singapore has participated. Wow. It is really a national contribution. So there's a lot for me to rattle on, but I'm mindful of the time as I look at it. All in all, I take pride in my successful achievement as a professional planner, urban designer, and architect, in addition to the promotions role of city, both locally and internationally, and also the promotion of architecture excellence in Singapore and in ASEAN region, which I chair as the chairman of the ASEAN Architects Council.
Very no, a great job. Can I ask you, Singapore continues to develop. I mean, it has been the garden city, and then it moved to the city in a garden, and now it's working towards the city of nature. Can you tell us what that actually involves?
Very good question, David. First of all, Singapore, a bit of context. Singapore was branded the Garden City in the 1970s, and the City in a Garden in the 2000s. And now we're trying to transform our city into a city in nature by 2030. So this is a journey that we are taking as far as the greenery in Singapore is concerned. Now, City in Nature is one of the 5 pillars of the Singapore Green Plan 2030, which is a whole of nation movement to advance the Singapore agenda on sustainable development with firm action plans touching on almost every dimension of our lives. So the 5 key pillars are city nature, sustainable living, energy reset, green economy, and resilient future. So this is where the whole concept of Singapore Green Plan 2030 is all about. So the key targets include increasing green spaces, of course, reducing consumption, increasing renewable energy generation, carbon efficient investments, and adapting to the rising sea level. In particular, under the City in Nature pillar, we plan to develop more than 130 hectares of new parks and enhance 170 hectares of existing parks. Well, we plan to plant 1 million more trees across Singapore, and we plan to have every household within a 10-minute walk from a park. And of course, increase the nature park's land area by more than 50%. So more greenery means more carbon dioxide, CO2, will be absorbed, giving us cleaner and cooler shades, especially in hot, humid Singapore. Our biodiversity will also increase, and there will be more wildlife among us, from migratory birds and hornbills to otters and mouse deer. You probably have read about many of these things happening in Singapore. Otters swimming in the Marina Bay Sand area, and otters trotting to housing estates with monkeys coming around. So it is very important, and that's why we were very involved in the biodiversity committee right on, and the biodiversity index is actually named after Singapore Biodiversity Index with more than 33 members in the world. So David, so by 2030, Singapore will become a clean and beautiful city in nature. And if you come any time now and when you come after 2030, you will probably see the difference.
I think 1 million trees is one heck of a task there, but that's amazing. I mean, that's just such a big number. And I know that, Singapore City, of course, is beautifully presented. And so how does the green landscape design sort of link to your commitment of better design buildings?
Yes. Now, first, we have the City in Nature vision, which is by restoring nature into the city, we aim to strengthen our climate, ecological, and social resilience. Green is a place where we could do many of these things here. We plan for accessible parks and green spaces in our towns and housing estates for residents to enjoy. For example, the town parks, the neighborhood parks, the precinct green, and even rooftop gardens. So by 2030, as I said, 100% of our home will be within a 10-minute walk to a park. We are putting in more effort to introduce nature through urban greenery. For example, naturalized planting in parks, nature ways which involve forest-like multi-tiers planting along our road. So we're trying to transform that to be more naturalized. More island park connectors, which are recreational routes to provide more opportunities to explore our green spaces, while also introducing greenery into our built environment. Now, Singapore is very small, but there are many parks and precinct green spaces, many of them. So the concept of park connector was introduced by us last time, and the whole idea is to link all these green and blue spaces so that one can cycle, skate, run, or walk for a longer distance or with no end in mind, and not just limited to using only one green park. So you see, the people living in the area can come down and enjoy the park. But if you link from park to park to park, you can actually there's no limit. You can go everywhere in Singapore. And actually by 2030, we hope to have a round island route of 150 hectares, kilometers, all right, around the whole Singapore. Hence the name RIR, Round Island Route. And David, you're welcome to do a 3.5 marathon cross country, because Singapore is small. It's also a country. So I don't think you can do a cross country in Australia, you know. Now, restoring nature into our green urban landscape is important. So in 2009, we introduced LUSH, LUSH, Landscaping for Urban Spaces and High Rises Policy, which is an urban and vertical greening scheme with requirements and incentive. Even as new developments are built, the greenery and landscape areas equivalent to the area of the development site will be replaced either at the ground level or vertically. So as more land is taken up by buildings in high density areas, we want to encourage the replacement of greenery that is lost to the building footprint. So incentive schemes support the provisions of communal green spaces by leveraging on gross floor area exemptions. So since the inception from 2009 to 2020, the LUSH program has contributed more than 250 hectares of development greenery, or equivalent to 465 football fields island-wide. So in 2012, A plus U cover page showed Singapore as the capital city for vertical green. You can see this, A plus U magazine, and the title is Singapore, the capital city for vertical green. I'll bring a copy across to you. And there are obviously many benefits for greening the city, both horizontally and vertically. The conventional thinking is that the development of a city would take place at the expense of the greenery and nature. This is not necessarily true if there is good planning and urban design and a good balance of development and conservation. So in the case of Singapore, with conscious design in greening the city, in fact, our green cover increased from 36% to 47%, even as population grew by 70% from 1986 to 2007. You know, so you see that is the benefits of greenery.
So your presentation towards sustainable urbanism, what would you say are the key elements of that presentation?
The basic parameters like land use, design, density, height, and development, and urban design conditions would help to guide and shape a better design environment. So it is important to take a holistic approach, such as land use planning, urban design, and architectural design. So once the land use planning is settled, urban design is the key to obtaining good environmental outcome. So one can specify urban design condition as additional requirements for a specific site. For the famous Marina Bay Sands project, one of the special urban design conditions requires the developer to allow the public to access and enjoy the rooftop space, and not just for the private use of the hotel guests. Now, of course, the developer capitalize on this and charge the public a certain amount of money just to go up. And they make so much money out of that because the roof space is very popular. So urban design is important as it takes into consideration in between spaces, or for that matter, no man's land, and ensure that all spaces are well designed. You know, the architects of individual site will just look at the site, and other sites, individual look at it. But you need to really in sync all of them together through urban design, just to make sure the whole space speaks nicely together. It is very important to take care of that. So in Singapore, for key strategic project in Singapore, different procurement processes may be utilized to ensure good design outcome. For example, the two-envelope procurement system design is critical in the first stage. It's like a beauty parade. We choose the best first before the final envelope is opened on the price to determine the eventual winner. So competitions are also employed for important design projects. For example, for the first 50-story public housing projects at Duxton Plain, an international design competition was organized as part of the procurement process to ensure good design outcome. And for strategic projects, we even convene a design advisory panel. We just don't leave it to the architects, so to speak, comprising of the key private and public architects and planner to ensure that every stage of the developmental design has been reviewed and approved collectively. And also to promote good design in Singapore, we organize the President's Design Award, the PDA, which I was involved in inauguration of the award in 2006. I started that too. So it is the pinnacle of all design awards, and it's very glamorous. So people are attracted to do good design. And the Singapore Institute of Architects also organized the SIA Award annually to encourage architects and designers to achieve good design and built environment. I mean, these are some of the ways that we try to get good design in Singapore.
Very, very good. You also held the position of Managing Director of the World Cities Summit for many years. Can I ask you some of the issues that you had back then when you were doing that role and compared to now? Has a lot changed?
Good. Well, the World City Summit, just for information, was inaugurated in Singapore in 2008, right? With the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize inaugurated in 2010. They have to be seen together because they are in the same platforms. So there were four main tenets of the prize, which we were then trying to promote: livability, sustainability, vibrancy, and high quality of urban life. Cities all over the world do have common issues, and the World City Summit and the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize are platforms for learning and sharing. The prize recognizes outstanding cities from which other cities can draw inspirations and ideas. It honors outstanding achievements and contribution to the creation of livable, vibrant, and sustainable urban community around the world. So when we first started the World City Summit in 2008, many of the issues then were involved creating a more sustainable community. Issues of governance, livability, and quality of life. Though many cities have become more developed, many other cities are still facing similar basic issues then and now. However, there are currently more pressing issues such as the climate change, pandemic. We just experienced 3 years of COVID-19. I know we all know about it. It is universal. Carbon emissions, global warming, and the undesired consequences of more natural disasters such as floods, earthquakes, and forest fire. I think Australia is very well known for that, unfortunately, forest fire. There are also geopolitical issues and conflicts, issues of misuse of artificial intelligence, AI, and internet technology, and so on. All in all, we do have more critical issues to resolve now compared to the early 20s.
I was going to ask you too, how do you see Australian cities adopting sustainable programs for their main streets and city centres?
First of all, I must say for context, I spent 7 years in Australia, 5 years doing my architecture degree in Perth, and 2 years doing my master degree in Sydney, so from the west to the east.
Yes.
And after many, many official work trips and vacations, I must acknowledge that Australian cities are among the most livable and sustainable cities around the world. In fact, in the latest EIU Livability Ranking 2023, you have 4 cities, namely Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, and Perth in the top 20 most livable cities in the world, with Adelaide and Perth tied at 12th position. Adelaide, for example, is the 12th most livable city in the world, with 173 cities surveyed. It's quite a feat, you know. And I understand that Adelaide was, in fact, the most livable city in Australia in 2021, especially when Adelaide has done very well during the COVID periods and among the earliest cities to open up. So, congratulations to Adelaide. So, Australian cities are already doing a job to improve the city's performance generally. And of course, people like David is adding on values to, in many ways, to the cities of Adelaide. Now, but some of the good principles for consideration would be the long and short-term plannings, good governance, political stability, the 3 pillars of sustainability, including economic, social, and environmental. It is also very, very important to safeguard a clean and green environment that will also be resilient to climate change. So you can see that there are so many natural disasters, as said before, especially in 2023, such as flood, earthquake, and forest fire. And all of us must start to contribute to make the earth a better place to live, work, play, experience, and enjoy. The other important but most challenging is social sustainability. I always think among the 3 pillars, economics, that's given. The government that you elected must make sure, and all your political bodies must make sure economy is vibrant. Environmental, we can have engaged many professionals, like David, for example, to assist. But social sustainability is the most challenging one. We need to create good quality environment that meets the needs of our population, whether in a city, Main Street, or even a small precinct. We will have to continually engage the community and play their part to contribute collectively to a better and greener environment. So this is really when planning, urban design, architecture, and place management collectively contributes to the improvement of the overall city performance. These are some of the principles which I think quite universal.
Yes. And I know earlier you spoke about moving the display, a whole display for the Expo over in Dubai. What were some of the challenges of doing that, to take a whole tropical garden and show it over there?
Oh, this is one of my favorite projects before I stepped down from the government, so it is very memorable. So, theme, nature, nurture, and future, very appropriate theme. The Singapore Pavilion offers our perspective of what a city in nature can look like and how this vision can be realized anywhere through smart and sustainable urban solution. And this is what I share across to many dignitaries and 24 million people that visited the Dubai World Expo. Of course, the main challenge is to create a tropical garden in a desert condition, which is dry and arid, and conditions simply just the opposite. So actually how it happened is just when we were tasked to do the job, we were just simply, what should we do in a desert area like Dubai? And then we were just discussing and just say, why don't we bring a green oasis? And so that's how it started. So, tropical gardens are lush. And so we have incorporated 80,000 plants of more than 170 plant varieties within the different layers of greenery. And for ecological diversity and resilience, the intent was really to push the envelope and incorporate an extensive variety of trees, palms, shrubs, and flowers, including many with ethnobotanical value instead of monoculture, which is in the arid area, desert area. So by incorporating the extensive variety of plants spanning across diverse habitats on various spaces, the Singapore Pavilion transforms into an attractor of wildlife from birds such as laughing dove, nesting and roosting within the many trees, or insects such as dragonflies and damselflies foraging or passing by. In fact, I filmed how a pair of laughing dove built a nest at my entrance of the Singapore Pavilion. So I follow it through, and in a couple of weeks, they laid 2 eggs, and in a couple of weeks, the eggs hatched, and then 2 little chicks grew and flew away, and there were many nests of stuff in the Singapore Pavilion. So this endorsement of the wildlife is the greatest compliments and endorsements of the sustainability narrative of the built environment, coexisting in harmony with nature. That's important. Coexisting in harmony with nature. The Singapore Pavilion is also designed to be a self-sufficient ecosystem to achieve net zero energy during the event period. So elements of regenerative design include solar panels to power the pavilion, lush landscaping aided by sun pipes and grow lights, on-site desalination and dry mist. The solar energy generates enough electricity to power the pavilion, and it also acts as a sunshade because it's on the rooftop. By covering the entire roof with 517 solar panels, 155 megawatt hour electrical power can be generated to power the pavilion over 6-month Expo period as a clean, renewable resource. 18 sun pipes capture and send sunlight from the roof into the pavilion, deeper, low light interiors, and are complemented by the grow lights. Underground water is extracted directly under the pavilion. Solar desalination meets the pavilion water needs, including irrigation of 80,000 plants. So using the solar energy harvested, 40 meter cube of saline groundwater is treated daily via reverse osmosis. That's what we do in Singapore, of which 20 meter cube of water, salt water, returns to the sea as a byproduct, and 20 meters potable water, meter cube of potable water fulfills the pavilion's landscape and operational needs. A system of dry mist is developed to improve the thermal comfort for visitors via the adiabatic cooling. They combine air, water, and high pressure to create ultra-fine droplets, dry mist. And we tested all this before we implemented over in Dubai. The outputs are adjustable to changing ambient conditions to minimize energy and water use, especially in the cooler plant. There are 51 dry mist fans strategically located to provide targeted cooling for visitors to feel 6 to 10 degrees cooler. So, for example, even before we open the door to the visitors, many of the workers at the adjacent site during the hot sun of 45 degrees visited our lush garden and get themselves cooled down and cooled by the dry mist fan. So you will see that there are many, many challenges to create a tropical garden in a desert climate. But from my experience in Dubai, it is always possible to achieve the vision of a city in nature anywhere. I mean, we have done it in the hottest desert area. So through smart and sustainable urban solutions.
I mean, that's amazing. So I want to thank you so much, Larry, for your time today. And, we are really looking forward to your presentation here in Adelaide. And it's going to be very exciting. And I know that we've got a lot of people coming to see you, and it's going to be very, very exciting. So thank you so much for contributing to our Main Street Masters series on behalf of Mainstreet SA. It's been fabulous to have you.
Thank you, David, and I'll
Thank,
see you.
thank you very much. Goodbye.